I never imagined I'd be pouring my heart out to strangers on the internet, but here I am. My name is Anna, and I'm a 38-year-old woman from the Midwest. I've been married to my husband Mark for 15 years. 15 years. It's a lifetime and a heartbeat all at once. We met when I was in college, a shy junior working part-time at a coffee shop, and he was a confident young man who came in every morning for a black coffee and a blueberry muffin. Mark had this warm smile that made me feel seen. Before long, coffee chats turned into dates, dates turned into love, and love into a marriage. We built a life many would call ordinary but happy. A cozy house, weekly Sunday barbecues with neighbors, and a beautiful daughter named Emily, who just turned 13. Our marriage wasn't perfect, no marriage is, but it was ours. We navigated the usual ups and downs, job changes, Mark's long hours at the firm trying to make partner, my stressful days juggling work and motherhood, the exhaustion of raising a toddler who then turned into a moody teenager. We had our share of little arguments about dishes in the sink or him forgetting to pick up milk on the way home. But we always found our way back to a kiss goodnight. In my heart, I believed we were unbreakable, a team facing the world together. Looking back now, I wonder if I was living in a comfortable illusion. Because nothing, absolutely nothing, could have prepared me for how that illusion would come crashing down. Out of nowhere. It happened on an otherwise ordinary Tuesday evening. I had just finished cleaning up after dinner, spaghetti night, Mark's favorite, and was about to fold a load of laundry. Mark walked into the living room with an expression I'd never seen before, a mix of resolve and sorrow. My heart skipped a beat. He cleared his throat, avoiding eye contact. "We need to talk," he said quietly. Those 4 words sent a chill through me. I perched on the arm of the couch, suddenly uneasy. In my mind I was scrambling. Is he sick? Did something happen at work? Divorce was the furthest thing from my mind. I want a divorce, Anna," Mark said, voice flat but firm. He couldn't even sit down. He just stood there, arms crossed tightly as if bracing for impact. I felt the air leave my lungs. For a second, I was sure I misheard. A bizarre thought flashed through my mind that maybe this was some cruel joke or that I had fallen into a nightmare I would jolt awake from. I just stared at him, mouth open, waiting for him to take it back, to laugh and say gotcha. But his eyes told me this was no joke. What did you say?" I finally choked out. My voice sounded small and distant to my own ears. "I'm sorry," he repeated, louder this time, each word like a bullet. "I can't do this anymore. I want a divorce." My vision blurred with tears as the reality hit me. "Mark, where's this coming from? We were fine, we were happy, or at least I thought we were. How can you just throw 15 years away?" My words came out in a frantic rush. I was shaking all over. He looked pained, but his voice remained disturbingly calm. "I know it's sudden. I haven't been happy for a while, Anna. I just didn't want to hurt you. Did I do something? Please talk to me," I pleaded. My mind was racing, trying to figure out what could make him do this. Is it someone else? "Mark, look at me. Are you seeing someone?" He finally met my eyes, and for a moment I saw a flicker of something, guilt? Fear? Before he quickly looked away.
"No.
"There's no one else," he said too quickly, shaking his head. "This isn't about anybody else. It's about me. I felt trapped. I need to start over." His words were rehearsed, as if he had practiced this speech in his head 100 times. I stood up, and now I was the one looking him in the eye, tears streaming down my face. "Trapped? We have a life. We have Emily." My voice broke at our daughter's name. "How can you do this to us?" "To her?" Mark's jaw tightened. "We'll figure out things for Emily. It'll be better in the long run. For everyone." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. A hot surge of anger cut through my despair. Better? How can breaking our family apart be better for her? For us? He didn't answer that. Instead, he just murmured, "I'm sorry," again and again, as if those words could possibly fix the wreckage he just caused. I sank onto the couch as my legs gave out, sobbing into my hands. This couldn't be real. After a moment of heavy silence, he spoke softly, I'll stay at a hotel tonight. I think we both need some space. Through my fingers, I saw him run a hand through his hair, a gesture of frustration and guilt I knew so well. He looked around the living room, anywhere but at me, and added, "We can talk more later, when things are calmer." Before I could muster another word, Mark was already walking to our bedroom to pack a bag. I wanted to scream, to throw something, to grab him and force him to explain, but I felt frozen in place, like if I moved even an inch, the fragile reality around me would shatter completely. Minutes later, I heard his footsteps as he walked to the front door with a small overnight bag. He hesitated in the entryway. I held my breath, praying he would turn around, rush back to me, say he'd made a mistake. But he didn't. The door opened. "I'm sorry," he whispered one last time from the doorway, not even looking back. Then he left, gently closing the door behind him with a soft click that echoed like thunder in the silence. I was alone, shaking and devastated, staring at the door long after he was gone, as if any second he'd burst back in and this nightmare would end. Broken pieces. The silence after Mark left was deafening. I don't know how long I sat there on the couch, stunned and sobbing, replaying his words over and over. I want a divorce. The world that had felt secure just an hour before was now utterly foreign to me. My chest hurt with every breath, and I realized I was hyperventilating. I forced myself to breathe slowly, hugging a throw pillow to my chest as if it could keep me from falling apart completely. I don't remember making the decision to pick up my phone, but I found myself dialing my best friend, Lisa. When she answered, just hearing her voice say, "Hey, Anna." "What's up?" broke the dam. I started crying so hard I could barely speak. He left me, Lisa. I managed to stammer between sobs. "Mark. He has said he wants a divorce." "Oh my God, Anna." "What?" "No. No way," Lisa gasped. I could hear rustling on her end, like she was sitting up in bed or grabbing her keys. "I'm coming over." "It's late," I hiccuped, glancing at the clock. It was past 10 p.m., and on a weeknight she'd have to wake her two little ones and drive across town. "You don't have to, screw that." "I'm coming." "You shouldn't be alone right now," she insisted. I didn't protest further. I needed her. While I waited for Lisa, I wandered the house in a daze. In the hallway, family photos stared back at me. Our wedding day, Mark and I beaming with youthful optimism, the three of us at Disneyland last summer, with Emily on his shoulders laughing at the parade, holidays, anniversaries, tiny moments frozen in time when we were happy. I felt like I was looking at someone else's life. I ended up in Emily's room. My little girl was fast asleep, snuggled under her sky blue comforter with the teddy bear Mark won for her at a carnival, still tucked in her arm. My heart clenched, seeing her innocence. She had no idea that just downstairs, her father had detonated a bomb that would shatter her world. Gently, I sat on the edge of her bed and brushed a few strands of hair from her face. She stirred but didn't wake. Tears welled up again as I whispered, "I'm so sorry, baby," so softly that only the darkness heard me. I felt like I had failed her somehow, like I wasn't enough to keep our family whole. By the time I crept back to the living room, Lisa was knocking at the door. I opened it to her and immediately collapsed into her arms. She held me as I shook with sobs. After a few minutes, she guided me to sit down on the sofa, not letting go of my hand. Through hiccups and tears, I recounted the entire awful scene to her, how out of nowhere he demanded a divorce, the cold way he said he wasn't happy, his denial of anyone else being involved. Lisa raised an eyebrow at that, and the empty look in his eyes as he walked out. Speaking the words aloud made it more real, and I felt a fresh wave of panic and grief crash over me. Lisa listened quietly, her face a mix of compassion and anger. I can't believe he would do this," she said softly, handing me a tissue from the box on the coffee table. "Not like this, not after everything." I wiped my eyes, which were surely red and swollen by now. "He said he's been unhappy," I whispered. "I don't understand. We never even fight about big things. How long has he felt this way? What did I miss?" She squeezed my hand. You're not a mind reader, Anna. If he was unhappy, he owed it to you to talk about it, not blindside you. This is on him. Her tone had that protective steel I'd heard whenever someone hurt me back in our school days. We sat in silence for a moment. My thoughts were swirling. Mark coming home late from work these past few months, the way he'd been so preoccupied lately. Had I brushed off signs of trouble? Hindsight was starting to paint a cruel picture, but I still couldn't see it clearly. Lisa finally voiced the question that had already formed in my darkest thoughts. "Are you sure there's no one else?" she asked gently. He had sworn there wasn't. But in that moment, I realized I didn't actually believe him. My heart didn't want to, but my gut was screaming that something was off. I don't know, I admitted shakily. It was all so sudden. I asked him, and he said no, but I don't know. Why else would he do this so suddenly? The way he was talking, it was like he'd already made up his mind long ago. My voice trembled on the edge of hysteria. Lisa rubbed my back. "It doesn't add up," she said, voicing exactly what I was thinking. "You guys were fine when we all went out last month, remember? He was doting on you, making plans for summer. People don't just wake up one day after 15 years and decide to leave without a reason." I nodded, numb, staring at the pattern on the rug as if it might contain answers. There had to be a reason. Mark wasn't impulsive. If anything, he was methodical to a fault. He must have been planning this, possibly for months. The thought made my stomach turn. Lisa stayed with me for over an hour, long enough to coax me into sipping some water and to assure me repeatedly that I wasn't going crazy. She offered to let me and Emily stay at her place that night, but I declined. I didn't want to uproot my daughter from her own bed in the middle of the night. And a part of me stupidly held on to hope that Mark might return, that he'd realize his mistake and come home, even if just to talk. Eventually, close to midnight, Lisa had to go back home to her family. By then, I had no tears left, just a hollow ache in my chest and a splitting headache. She hugged me fiercely at the door. "Call me first thing in the morning, okay? And I can take Emily to school if you need me to. Whatever you need, I'm here." "Thank you," I croaked. I felt utterly drained, but I was so grateful to have her in my corner. After she left, I locked up the house and stood in the darkness of the living room, unsure of what to do next. The quiet was overwhelming. Mark's absence hung in the air like a ghost. Our bedroom down the hall was dark and empty, and I couldn't bear the thought of sleeping in that king-size bed alone, surrounded by his things, his scent still on the pillows. Instead, I curled up on the couch with a blanket, right where I had sat during the confrontation just hours ago, as if staying in that spot might somehow undo what had happened. I left a small lamp on and clutched my phone in my hand, half expecting him to call or text. But the screen stayed dark. I must have drifted into a restless sleep sometime after 2 a.m., because the next thing I knew, pale dawn light was peeking through the curtains and my phone was buzzing on the coffee table, startling me awake. I bolted upright, heart pounding, fumbling for the phone. My mind immediately hoping it was Mark with some explanation or apology. It was Lisa calling to check on me. "Hey," she said gently, "I wanted to see how you're holding up. Do you want me to swing by and take Emily to school? Or anything at all?" I closed my eyes, touched by her kindness. My head throbbed from crying and lack of sleep, but I knew I had to face the day at some point. "Thanks, Lise," I croaked, my voice raw. "But I think I'll manage taking her. I need to do something normal. For her sake." "I understand," she said. "Just remember, you don't have to do this alone. Call me if you need anything, even if it's just someone to vent to, or to bring you coffee." "Okay. I will," I promised softly. "And thank you for everything. I mean it." After I hung up, I took a moment to gather myself. My hands were trembling as I ran them through my hair and tied it into a low ponytail. I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror above our console table. My brown eyes were puffy and bloodshot, face pale. I barely recognized the woman staring back. I splashed some cold water on my face in the downstairs bathroom, taking long, shaky breaths. "You can do this," I told myself. 1 minute at a time. The sound of footsteps on the stairs made my heart lurch. Emily. I stepped out of the bathroom to see my daughter standing there in her fuzzy pajamas, her hair a tangle of curls from sleep. She looked at me with bleary, curious eyes.
Mama?
Why are you up so early? And why were you sleeping on the couch? She asked, frowning slightly. I attempted a smile, praying it looked convincing. I just couldn't sleep, sweetie. So I lay on the couch watching TV. Didn't want to wake your dad. I lied, the words tasting bitter in my mouth. It wasn't far from the truth. Sleep had been impossible, but everything else was a lie. She rubbed her eyes. Where's Dad? Is he getting breakfast? I felt a crack in my carefully donned mask. The pang in my chest returned. He had to leave early this morning. For work, I managed, trying to keep my tone light. He had an out-of-town meeting come up suddenly. Emily's eyebrows knitted in confusion. Mark rarely left town without notice.
Oh.
Will he be back for dinner? I'm not sure, Em. I reached out and squeezed her hand gently. We'll see him soon, though. Don't worry. She studied me for a moment, and I could tell she sensed something was off. My daughter is sharp. She can read my moods. But she didn't press right then. Instead, she just nodded slowly. Okay. Can we have pancakes for breakfast? Relief washed over me that she changed the subject. I forced a brighter smile. Of course, honey. Go get dressed for school, and I'll get everything ready. As she padded back upstairs to change, I exhaled a breath I didn't realize I was holding. My hands were shaking again, the weight of the secret heavy on my tongue. I hated lying to her, but I needed just a little more time. Time to figure out what to say, time to see if Mark would at least help me tell our child that her parents were splitting up. That thought ignited a flicker of anger inside me. He should be here to face this, not hiding who knows where. I headed into the kitchen and began mixing batter, focusing on the simple tasks. Measure the flour, crack the eggs, whisk. Anything to keep myself from falling apart. The house was so quiet, it was eerie. Normally, mornings were filled with the sound of Mark clanking dishes or brewing his coffee, Emily rushing around to find her homework, and me shouting reminders about grabbing lunches or wearing a jacket. Now it was just me and the soft sizzle of pancake batter on the griddle. As I flipped pancakes, I caught myself glancing at the kitchen door, half expecting Mark to stroll in, "Ty askew," flashing me a guilty grin for being out so early. But the doorway was empty, and it hit me anew that he wasn't coming back. Not this morning, maybe not ever. I had to bite down hard on my lip to keep it from quivering, because I could hear Emily bounding back down the stairs. I pasted on another fake smile and poured her orange juice as she sat at the table. We talked about her math test later today and how she hoped she'd remember the formulas I'd helped her with the night before. Was it really just the night before? It felt like a lifetime ago. I nodded and added the appropriate MMs and encouragements, but my mind was elsewhere, replaying every moment of last night in an endless loop. After breakfast, I walked her to the car and drove her to school like it was any other day. I felt like an actress in a play I didn't audition for, performing normalcy for my child. When we pulled up in front of Maplewood Middle School, Emily hesitated. She looked at me with those big brown eyes she inherited from me. "Mom, are you sure everything's okay?" she asked quietly. My throat tightened. Part of me wanted to just blurt it out, to say no, nothing is okay, sweetheart. Dad left us. But I swallowed that down. I didn't want to send her into class with that bomb dropped on her heart, not when I wasn't even sure how to explain it yet. She deserved better than an offhand announcement in the car.
I'm okay, honey, he lied gently.
Just a little tired. We'll all talk tonight, all right? Don't worry about anything. Have a good day at school. Do your best on that test. I love you. She studied my face for another second, then nodded slowly. I love you too, Mom. I watched her walk into the brick building, shoulders slumped under the weight of her backpack. My brave, beautiful girl. As soon as she disappeared inside, I let the tears come again, silently in the car. I cried for a minute or two, then forced myself to pull it together because I had to drive home. The school drop-off monitor was starting to wave me on, and I realized I must look odd idling there with tears in my eyes. On the drive back, anger began to bubble up past the sadness. How dare Mark put me in this position? How dare he make me lie to our daughter? This wasn't the life we promised each other. This wasn't the family we promised her. By the time I returned home to the emptiness of our house, that anger was what kept me from collapsing. I needed answers. I needed to understand why my husband, who just yesterday morning kissed me on the cheek before work like everything was normal, could upend our entire lives so callously. Searching for answers. Back at home, I realized I couldn't just sit in the silence and wait for more shoes to drop. If Mark wouldn't give me answers, I had to find them myself. My hands were still unsteady, but now it was from determination as much as nerves. I grabbed my laptop from the kitchen counter and opened it with a sense of resolve. The first thing I did was shoot off a quick email to my boss explaining that a family emergency came up and I needed a couple of days off. I was in no shape to work, and honestly, I didn't care about anything except figuring out what led to this nightmare. Then I began to dig. I logged into our cell phone account online, something I usually only did to pay the bill. My heart pounded as I clicked on the usage details for Mark's line. A long list of calls and text messages appeared. My eyes scanned the numbers, not quite sure what I was looking for, until I saw one number that kept popping up over and over, at odd times of day and night. A lump formed in my throat. There were dozens of calls to this number, often late at night or during his lunch hour, and I certainly didn't recognize it. The area code wasn't local either. I copied the number down, hands shaking. I considered calling it right then, but what would I even say? Instead, I did a quick search online for the area code and number. No name came up, just that it was a cell phone in a neighboring state. That didn't tell me much, but my stomach clenched. Could Mark be calling another woman? Someone who lived one state over. I shut the laptop, feeling sick. Memories started flooding back unbidden, little things I had ignored or explained away, now taking on a more sinister light. Looking back, there were signs, puzzle pieces I hadn't realized were forming a dark picture. Late nights and business trips. In the past 6 months, Mark had started working later than usual and took 2 overnight trips for client meetings. He hated traveling for work, yet he didn't seem all that upset about these trips. I remember one night he returned from one with a distant look in his eyes. Guarded phone and secret texts, he'd become oddly protective of his phone. He started keeping it in his pocket at all times and would step out of the room to take certain calls. When I'd casually ask who he was texting so late at night, he would say, "Just work stuff, go to sleep," with a strained smile. Unexplained receipts. Last month, I found a crumpled receipt in his jacket from a fancy French bistro across town, a place we hadn't gone together. 2 prix-fixe dinners and an expensive bottle of wine. When I showed him, half joking about who he was wining and dining, he smoothly explained that he'd taken a potential client out. I believed him without question at the time. After all, entertaining clients was part of his job. Now that memory made my blood run cold. Emotional distance. He had been present but not. Little things like forgetting our planned date night or barely reacting when I got sick with the flu last month, where before he'd fuss over me, I'd tease him about being in his own world, and he'd just shrug and apologize distractedly. I thought he was just stressed with work. Each recollection was like adding fuel to the fire of my suspicion. With every red flag that surfaced in my mind, I felt anger mingling with hurt. How could I have been so blind? I berated myself, then reminded myself that he had wanted me blind. If Mark was living a double life, he had been actively hiding it from me, from all of us. The thought made my skin crawl. Unable to sit still, I decided to search the house. Maybe there was something tangible, something right in front of me that I had missed. I started in our bedroom, my bedroom, I guess, now. It felt eerie going through the familiar space with a detective's eye. I opened drawers, checked his nightstand, even rummaged through the pockets of his clothes in the closet. At first, I found nothing out of the ordinary. Neatly folded dress shirts, the usual clutter of coins and receipts in his nightstand, nothing juicy, just gas station and grocery store receipts. I dug deeper, pulling out shoeboxes on the top shelf of the closet that held old birthday cards and our wedding keepsakes. Tears stung my eyes when I came across a dusty album of our honeymoon photos. I quickly set it aside, trying to stay focused. Then, As I was shuffling around the suits on his side of the closet, I heard a small thump. Something hard had fallen to the floor from one of the jacket pockets. I looked down and my breath caught in my throat. There, by my feet, was a cell phone that was most definitely not Mark's usual phone, which I knew he had taken with him. This one was a cheap little prepaid device, the kind you buy at an electronics store, a burner phone. My hands trembled as I picked it up. The screen was dark. I pressed the power button and, to my surprise, it lit up immediately, not even password locked. Mark must have been too confident or careless to lock it. My heart hammered as I stared at the home screen. There were text notifications. With a deep breath, I opened the messaging app, my mind both terrified and desperate for answers. One message after another popped up in a thread with no name, just a number, and it was the same number I had seen on the phone bill records. My stomach lurched. I began scrolling through the texts, my eyes widening and tears blurring my vision the further I read. Good morning, handsome, smiley face. I can't wait to see you later. Last night was amazing. I miss you already. You must be busy, just thinking of you, love. Are you okay?
I'm worried.
Please call me when you can. Love you. I felt like I might vomit. With each message, the reality became undeniable. My husband was having an affair. These weren't just flirtatious texts, they spoke of meetings, intimacy, love. There was someone out there who called my husband handsome and said she loved him, someone who was worried why he hadn't called after he dropped the divorce bomb on me. My vision tunneled, and I had to steady myself against the closet door frame. My entire body was shaking, a mix of fury and devastation coursing through me. I read the name attached to the number, Samantha. I didn't know any Samantha personally, but right now that name seared itself into my mind like a brand. Oh God. Mark has a mistress. A girlfriend. Whatever you want to call it, another woman. The phone nearly slipped from my grasp as a sob tore through me. I sank down onto the floor amid strewn clothes, clutching that little phone in my hand like it was a live grenade. In a way, it had just blown up whatever remaining shards of hope I had that this divorce was something we could reconcile, or that it wasn't about someone else. There it was, in black and white on the tiny screen. Proof of his betrayal. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. My world, already cracked open, now completely crumbled. Mark wasn't just unhappy. He was in love with someone else. He had been lying to me, to all of us, leading a double life right under my nose. Sitting on that closet floor, I didn't know what to do next. Scream? Cry? Throw the phone? Call that number and unleash every ounce of rage on the woman on the other end? Call Mark and demand an explanation, not that anything he said could possibly justify this? 1,000 thoughts swirled in my mind, colliding with 1,000 emotions in my heart. Betrayal. Anger.
Heartbreak.
Even a sickening sense of embarrassment that I had been fooled so thoroughly. I wiped my eyes with the back of my hand, took a shaky breath, and looked at the phone again. One thought cut through the haze. The truth is in here. However painful, however horrifying, the truth of why my husband was doing this was literally in the palm of my hand. With trembling fingers, I scrolled back up to the very start of their message thread, steeling myself to read every last secret they had shared.
Reading between the lies. My hands trembled as I scrolled back through the entire message thread. Each text between Mark and Samantha was like a dagger through my heart, yet I couldn't stop reading. I had to know. The messages dated back 6 months. 6 months of lies, betrayal, and secret moments stolen from our family. I pieced together their story bit by bit, feeling sick to my stomach. Samantha was a coworker from the firm's other branch office. Their messages began innocently enough: work jokes, shared complaints about bosses, flirtatious teasing. Soon, innocent turned into intimate, and intimacy turned into something deeper and darker. The most painful texts were about me. Does your wife suspect anything? No, she's clueless. It'll be easier when we're together openly. I was clueless. The humiliation burned hot tears down my cheeks. Facing the storm. I spent the rest of the afternoon crying, numb and exhausted, trying to decide my next move. Rage boiled beneath my sorrow. By evening, I knew exactly what I had to do. Mark finally called around 8 p.m., his voice guarded. Anna, can we talk now? Yes, Mark. Come home. Now. My tone must have startled him because he hesitated. Is Emily there? I don't want. No. She's staying at Lisa's tonight. You and I need to talk, alone. My voice was steady now, fueled by anger and determination. 20 minutes later, I heard the key turn in the lock. He stepped inside cautiously, eyes wary. I stood in the living room, arms crossed, the burner phone clearly visible in my hand. Anna, his eyes flickered down and spotted the phone. His face went pale instantly. Is Samantha expecting your call? My voice was ice. He opened his mouth, closed it, then opened it again. Anna, let me explain. Explain? My voice cracked with anger. Explain 6 months of lying? Explain betraying me, betraying Emily? How do you explain destroying our family? Mark looked defeated, guilt written all over his face. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. I never meant. Don't you dare say you never meant to hurt me. Every decision you made was deliberate, I hissed. You lied every day you woke up in our bed, kissed me, kissed Emily goodbye, knowing you had someone else. Someone you say you love. Did you ever love me? Mark hung his head. I did, Anna. I swear I did. But somewhere, we just lost each other. Samantha made me feel alive again. That confession was another knife in my heart, yet it also cleared away any lingering doubt. I drew a shaky breath. Breaking the silence. We're done, Mark. Not because you demanded a divorce, but because I deserve better than this. Emily deserves better. You've broken something you can never fix. Mark sank onto the couch, head in hands. I'm so sorry, he whispered, tears finally spilling down his cheeks. Sorry isn't enough, I said firmly, anger now mixed with a strange calmness. Tomorrow we tell Emily together. You owe her that much. But after that, Mark, you leave. You don't get to choose anymore. This is the life you built. He nodded slowly, defeated. I'll do whatever you need. I need you gone, I whispered, feeling tears sting again, but this time from relief. I'd finally spoken my truth. A new beginning. The following day was the hardest of my life. We sat Emily down and explained gently, through tears, what was happening. Her heartbreak was almost too much to bear, but she was stronger than either of us imagined. Together, we cried, comforted each other, and promised we'd find our way through this. Days turned into weeks. Mark moved into a small apartment, and Emily and I began slowly piecing our lives back together. There were hard days filled with anger and sadness, but there were also moments of peace, laughter, and an unexpected strength born from pain. Lisa was there every step of the way, supporting and encouraging me as I rebuilt my world without Mark. Each day I felt a little stronger, a little freer. Moving forward. It's been almost a year since that terrible night. Mark and I have managed to stay civil, even friendly at times, for Emily's sake. Samantha didn't last long in his life after reality set in, no surprise there. And me? I found myself again. I learned my worth, regained my confidence, and redefined happiness on my own terms. Emily and I became closer than ever, bonded by the storm we weathered. Betrayal shattered my old life, yes, but it also showed me a strength I never knew I had. I'm sharing this story today because maybe someone out there needs to hear it. Your world might break apart, but you don't have to. Sometimes endings, as painful as they are, make way for beginnings more beautiful than you ever imagined.